I hope you can see my screen.
I need to go to that screen. Give me a moment.
Okay.
You can start.
Yeah. Okay. So as we have yesterday, we have gone through this test sheets about TCD. So how to create a test sheet, what a class is in this test sheets, again, creating of this attributes, assigning this values and creating of that instances. And then we have used, we have seen how to link that test sheet to a test case. So basically a test case has to convert it to a template, and then we can link the test sheet. And then we created this instances. And yeah, so apart from this, what I wanted to tell is, okay, what I will do is I'll just create one more test sheet, copy, paste. Uh, I'll rename it to ABC. I'll remove few of the things. Let's say I just have only username and then the password thing. So I have, I'll just give two values, two values each, and I'll just remove this instances. I have a test sheet with username and password having two values each, let's say. Now for this, if you go to this test case design, in this test sheet, we have something called complete instances. So by default, what we did earlier was we were creating instances manually, like one valid login functionality we created, and then we were selecting what should be the username, what should be the password, like all fields, right? So similar way, what Tosca would offer us is, so when you have some default some values, and then out of those you want to create some quick instances. So based on that, we have few options, which is like some based on some combinations, all combinations, the orthogonal or pairwise or linear. So we have this four techniques in test case design, wherein we can quickly generate the data. Now when you see all combinations, so what does this all combination means? Using of these values, using all those four values, it tries to uh, create the instances. So all in the sense, uh, one is like this value, let's say it is a valid, I'll say valid at user some data, and here let's say we will give one as valid password, another one will say invalid password. Invalid password. So we have these things. Now when we want to generate, so let's say some if you see this pairwise, like in a pair it can generate value. So if you have a requirement wherein you wanted to get the data prepared in a pairwise based on the combination, so we can use this pairwise. When it is like orthogonal, we have different. So I'll show you by generating it. And when it is all combinations, it is like this one valid user with valid password, invalid password, then invalid user with valid password, invalid password. So if you see the combination, all the values would be at least used once, and then based on that it changes. So here we have two values, so 2 to the power of 2, when we say it is what we get 4. So we would, when you generate all combination with this 2 and 2, you should get 4 instances. So I'll just click on this all combination by selecting the test sheet for which I want to generate the data. I'll click on this. Now, if you see, the instances has been created automatically by Tosca based on the combination. So if you see here, valid username, valid password, invalid username, valid password. So one time this value with valid uh, this thing, and then invalid username with valid password. So it is that combination it is just creating. So if you have 3 or 4, again based on that many number of instances is what it creates. So this is about the all combination. So this is how the data would be generated. And now this test sheet, what you can do is to your test case for whichever template yes you want it. uh, for example, I'll just all combination test case. If you have this, and now we had already, so what I can do is click this, drag and drop onto the sheet, and then based on this we have that template, and now we can uh, first we can also check once we have written all these things, and we can check if everything, all the values, corresponding values are fine or not. So if you see here, we are what two values, there are something different. And if you see these two values, what these two values could be, it is this account dot this, account dot self. I don't have that in my uh, test sheet which I'm using. So that is where it is throwing, I don't know what value it is referring to. So this, since it is from the previous test case, I would not use it. But currently I'm just looking into this two thing only. So I have got this uh, test case ready, and then username password for all combination of this test sheet. I have already linked it, and now I can just check the template, right click and check the template on it. So no errors found in template, all combination test case. So in this test case, yeah, there are no errors. Now we can generate the instances. So create a template instance. So right click on this and create a template instance. I would say yes, do it. And then if you see here, yeah, so all those combinations. So all the these test cases have been created. Now you can just execute any one test case, whatever your requirement is, or select all the test cases and execute. You can do whatever you want. So quickly, what Tosca has given us is it has created all this data in a quick way. Uh, so this is for all combination of the test case. Now, so I'll say here, this is all combination of the test case. So quickly, we have got that data. And now let's say, I'll just copy it again, paste it. Now the next one, what I would say orthogonal. In the orthogonal combination, first of all, I don't need these instances. I will delete it. And now we have normal test sheet with username and password instances. Okay. So for this, if you just create orthogonal, you see, Control G, Control O, I just clicked orthogonal. So what it is doing is valid with valid and then invalid with invalid. It is creating those two instances. So orthogonally, all the values are at least being used once. So this valid with valid, and it's not only valid or valid, it is just first value with first value and then second value with second value. If you have those kind of thing, it creates the instances according to that combination. So this is what orthogonal. And again, yes, same thing again here. If we just create a orthogonal, we get link that test sheet to that template and then generate. So you would get this two instances. You can change the names, whatever it is, and or after generating, yes, if you want to change any value, you can even do manually. But quickly, like if it is 10, 15, and then on the 10, 15 uh, uh, values, you want to create whatever all combinations with using this values. I want all combinations, be it how you're not worried about how many instances would come, but you want all the things to be covered. If it is that way, then you can use this methods, the techniques that are provided from Tosca, so that quickly it generates that sort of data. So orthogonal is this way. Now, if you see the other one, I'll show you the other one, which is pairwise. So this is like an important interview question. So you just have to explain what an all combination would be, how many techniques are there, and what is each about each techniques is all combination, what it is. Orthogonal means how it is it generates, and then pairwise. When it is pairwise, uh, I'll just remove this. And for the pairwise, I'll generate this pairwise combination. Now, if you see the pairwise, how it is doing, valid with valid, and then valid with invalid. Next thing is, so valid with all the possible things it has created. First two instance, if you see it catches, let's say it catches one value, and then this one value with all the available values. So first instance with the first value, second instance with the second value. Similarly, if it has third instance with the third value, like on it goes. So once it has done with first value, then it repeats the same thing with second value. So invalid with valid, and then invalid with invalid. So similarly, if we have invalid and with another thing, we get another instance. That is what pairwise. This is what pairwise it generates the data. And then I'll just the next one is linear expansion. So what a linear expansion is. So if you see for the linear expansion, first thing, this is the main one. Just concentrate on this. So when it is linear expansion, if I just try to select this and then try to create a linear expansion, see what it says. It would probably give us some error. Reason is it cannot perform linear expansion because a straight through instance cannot be generated because the following business relevant structure contains no straight through instance. So for generating the test sheet in a linear expansion way, we have to first uh, specify what a straight through instance is. Now, what straight through instance mean? So for each of your attribute, so it is for each and every attribute that you have created. For that each and every attribute, what you have to do is you need to tell Tosca that which one is your straight through instance, straight through value, meaning out of available 2 or 10 values for one particular attribute, which one do you think you want to consider or the main one? Let's say just in a simple term, if you want to understand, out of all 10 values, which one is the main for your attribute, which is username? So if you have, for now it is 2, but it can be 10 as well. Out of those 10 values, which one is your main? You might have some main value. Let's say I would pick valid username is my main value. So on that, what you have to do is right click or just select this one. And here you would have something called toggle character. Click on this button and then twice. Just click on this option twice so that it creates this kind of icon now. So which is this is now an straight through value. So this is a straight through value. So meaning in this, for this attribute, out of all available values, I want to consider this one as my major one, main one. So similarly for the password as well, I would take, okay, this is my main thing. So for this, you can just click toggle character twice, so it creates this way. Now, if you have for all available attributes, if you create this straight through value, then you can what? Create an linear expansion. So straight through instance can be generated when you have straight through values. So I would click on linear expansion. Now, if you see this straight through, so the straight through instance would consist of only straight through values, whatever we said main one, right? So that main thing it creates, and then apart from that it also creates other ones. Now if you say at least one uh, straight through value would be present in each of the later instances. One is straight through, all the straight through values would be there, but in the other combinations it is like one is straight through value with all the other ones, now the remaining ones, so it creates that way. So here it is generating three instances. So this straight through value, and now why this kind of things we might need is so now when we use this test case template, so if you want all these values, yes, you can keep, or whatever instance that has been generated you think it is not required for your test case, for your testing, if it is not required, and what you can do is just delete whatever is not required. You can delete and reduce the number of instances as well, like that, and then you can use this into your test case template and then execute that test case. For now I'll just keep, I want everything outside, and then uh, so this linear expansion, so the usage of this is only one value gets changed and the rest remains same from the previous instances. Also, if you see here, valid password is there, right? Other one is the one value which is not there, it is just checking that way. So with this combination of data, when we test some application, some steps, and then we will see when we execute that specific instance, whatever has been generated, there we would be able to identify which what do we say, which value is causing some issue in the application. Let's say if you have valid username, valid password, if we are executing, so we get some message, some operation, something happens in the application. Now let's say if we just change one value in this and then execute in the application, it might behave in a different way. So if you have that sort of combination, those sort of instances, then it would be easier for us to understand which particular value is causing us the problem. So if you just use orthogonal, so valid and valid, invalid and invalid, if we execute, uh, so this might not give us any so if let's say second one is giving us an error, valid with valid working fine, but both are invalid, it is giving us some sort of different behavior what we had expected. Now to understand or to debug where the issue is, what we have to do, so is it because both the values we gave invalid, that is why it is behaving that way? Or let's say if we just give valid username but an invalid password, then we will see what kind of behavior the application is giving us. So is it because both the values should be invalid, that is why it is giving that behavior, or one value if we give a valid one, then the other one is invalid, so how the system is behaving? So that sort of tracking, the debugging would be easier in linear expansion, so than in pair orthogonal. So pairwise, yes, with each value we are getting, so that is fine. But yeah, if we have to consider one out of all this, most of the companies would prefer having this linear expansion, because only one value is been changing. But with this it is kind of assuring, wherein we are covering most of the required scenarios against that test case. So all combination, yes, it gives all, and then this is the major one. But then in real time, again, testing for all combination as well, it is very tedious, not even preferred, too time taking process, uh, that particular part. So we avoid using that all combination, but major one is, as I said, linear combination. So data should be prepared in this linear combination, and then it is used in this way. So quickly the test cases would be created, and then jump to that particular instance, see how the test case is behaving, execute and see, and then you are getting the expected thing or not. Other thing that you can do in this uh, what the test cases are, if you see the test case, you can again create some conditions, right? Some more steps if you have. Uh, so actually, I should have that test case. It would have been more easier, uh, but the data is formatted. So if you have other steps, again, what we can do is we can use some conditions. You can use some if else, some whatever conditions in our template to navigate. So why we would use this if else? So let's say that condition we use, and then if the next step based on the values of the username and password, we get different behavior, right? So same way, when that step is performed after entering the credentials, the next step we can write if condition with based on proper valid credentials, I want to navigate through a different step. So in that case, we use that if condition. And then here in the condition itself, we get that steps only according. So this out of this all four, one is for valid login, another would be all the three again invalid, but again with a different combination, right? So for a valid login, we want the steps which are after login, what is happening, only that step. But for the invalid ones, we would be verifying some other step. So verification of error message after clicking entering credentials, we want to um, verify if the error message is displayed or not. For all the three, yes, error message. But for this one, we know we won't get any error message because the credentials were correct. So we want after logged in screen, what message we want to verify. So that basically you have to do it in the template itself. In the instance, you can do it, but once you do in the instance, any changes, whatever you do, let's say I have copied and I have did added some steps, some extra steps in one of the instance. And now this step would be present until and unless what we call the template instance is again reinstantiated. So if someone mistakenly or this thing right clicked on then clicks on this reinstantiate test case, so this value would go off because this value, this instance, it generates from the template. So from the template, whatever template has that steps. Now, if you see here, yeah, it has this steps. Now I'll just copy paste, and then we have another this things, right? So I have another steps now, and here in the template, I have only one steps, right? So in each test case, only one, because after creation, I have added, modified the template. Now, after that, if you want these steps to be shown in your instances, what you have to do is just reinstantiate the template. Right click, reinstantiate the template, or delete this instance and then regenerate the instance again. Create template instance. So you can reinstantiate or from starting again delete that and create again. So if you see this time, so with these two values, the test case got updated with the latest step as well. So that is what it happens. So in the instance, if you do changes and something is reinstantiated, that changes whatever you did in the instance goes off. So that is why you need to do changes in your template only, and then from there you just have to. So here you need to write some conditions saying okay, if you have different steps, so in this folder wise, let's say. So I want this step. So if you have this in folder, now to a folder, we can write some conditions as well here. So based on what TDS value, uh, so if it is both the values for the username and the password, if it is valid and valid, if both the values are valid and valid, or another identifier, let's say, what could be the other value? If I have added another uh, uh, a message or just flag something, uh, some attribute flag, I'll just say, and then I'll say this is valid scenario, I'll say yes, and then the other ones I can say no. Just an indication, uh, uh, whatever it is. And then based on this value now, we can uh, generate this values. So how is you see flag. So we have this flag, or I can even say, okay, for few I would leave empty. So for the flag here in the condition box, I can what? So I have to see this condition probably. This flag is not equals to null. If I just give it this way, now to that condition folder, yes, we get this kind of indication. And now there's a condition like this flag value should not be null is what my condition is. So for this template, when I try to generate the instances, see what happens. So in this we have this folder. So for second we haven't got a folder, third we haven't got that folder, fourth one we have got the folder. So folder in the sense, again, in this folder we have different steps. So again, this is not actual scenario, but whatever it can be, just I'm showing about how we can write a condition. So based on this condition, so if you see what we had said, the value flag value, meaning the attribute, one of the attribute value of this, if it is not null, if it is not null, then consider I want whatever steps are present in this folder, I want that to be generated, that to be present for that instances. So for this instance, I said yes. So value, since it is not based on the value, so it is just whatever value you would give, some values if you are giving, and now based on some values. So other values, I'm just not entering it, not considering it. So if it is this way, and then based on this value, for whichever instances I had filled these values, consider I want this folder steps to be present. For the other instances, I don't want that steps. So it is like that. Other
So this
thing,
way we can remove the combinations.
remove the combination in the sense only one template we can use, and for all the other instances our same template can work. It's not like remove, but it is uh,
Yeah,
uh,
it's kind of disabling.
yes, enable disable for whichever test case you want, what steps specific thing. So now let's say you later you have identified, okay, for even ABC2 I wanted that step. So if you wanted that step, what you have to do, you don't have to again do any changes to your template or to the test case. Just go to your instance, and against this, don't keep it empty. Fill something. Yes, I want this steps, something like that. And now go there, and then once you on this reinstantiate or to the template instance, you can just reinstantiate. Once you do, now you see for ABC as well, you have got that folder. For ABC3, yeah, you don't want, that's why you kept it that way. Different way like this is what you can create, so that one template but different sort of actions. Now here for valid, so this is, let's say, only verification, uh, verification of successful login. After login, whatever steps it should do is what I had written all that steps in this folder. So that way it would just give to this instance, and then the rest, it doesn't take this value. We want some other value, so other folder we create, and then other steps, whatever we want, error message, verifying an error message thing, right? So that error messages, yes, we can work on that part. So this is how, yes, you can write some conditions based on this. We generate it. So this is about test case design and about this values. So am I yeah, currently, yes, before I just move on, do you have any questions? Anything to
Right
ask?
now, I don't have anything, Pradeep. But yeah, once I get practice, maybe I'll post you. Definitely, I'll post
Right, right. Yeah. So I hope now you have a bit of understanding how what is this test case design, how we can create test sheets, and then even a class and different methods. But in general, what I have seen is we generally in projects whatever I have worked on, mostly I haven't got such requirement wherein I have to generate the data based on these techniques. So it is just for your awareness. I'm just letting you know. Then in real time, yes, what we do is we create test sheet and the instances as well. Only what is required to us, we just select those things. So we generate the data in that way. Uh, uh, but then yeah, these techniques I haven't used till now. So oh, yeah, that completely
Oh,
depends
not
on
even linear
no,
expression also.
not even linear
Expansion.
expansion. So
Okay.
because the requirement is not was not in that sort of way, wherein one test case I had to test for this many number of instances with just this one. So if the requirement was that way, test for all the combination, all of these things one by one, only one value should be changing, the other, yes, from the previous steps, previous test case, it should remain same. Uh, I haven't got that, but if you would get it, then yes, you can use this sort of techniques to generate. But manually also, yes, you can create. So we generally create manual thing, and then hardly out of 10-15 instances, we might only need two or three, and then whatever two or three we need, we would just manually create that instance. So one instance, and then what value I want for username, what value I want for password, what for account, likewise whatever it is here. So one with this and the other instance with if you want the same thing or some changes, so you can just copy this thing and paste it in the next one, and here whatever name you want to do some changes, and then it is in the valid. So valid related all the details are there, but in this instance I want to change the password. I don't want 12345 6. I want other password, which is this. I want that, and then admin main. So this is my instance which I want to a specific one. So this one, then that against that test sheet, whichever test case is linked, I will reinstantiate. Then I would get that test case with that data, and then I would use that test case. That's it. So likewise, you would be we would be generally doing it here. So, so we have gone through what about the data within storing it in buffer. Another thing is within the test cases, hard coding static values at a specific step we were giving. And then we have gone through how we can pass from an Excel read and write to that Excel. In the test case, another thing is test case design, reading data from here. But yeah, we cannot write any data to the test case design. So in any field, I want to store value from my test case. I cannot do that. So that is what one thing. So you might have a requirement wherein after execution of one test case, you want to store what is the username or the order ID, whatever has been displayed in the application, whatever has been generated, that generated ID you want to store. So you cannot store that in test case design. What you have to do is it would be stored in a buffer, but then and that to that buffers would be in your local only, and that value won't be passed to the other user. So if you want to pass it to the other user, what you have to do is from the local this buffer you have to store in some external third party thing. So external, which is Excel. So in Excel you can write data. So if you would refer to the previous recordings, you would see how we can write data to an Excel. So with that way, that buffered value, the generated ID or something, we can store that in an Excel, and then we can forward that Excel to the person who needs that value. Or even if we need it for later purpose, we read the value from that Excel and then use work on the next test case. So, but in test case design, we don't have that option to write. So that is one other thing. But the main advantage of this is, if you see, uh, if we are kind of have that requirement and generate, want to have test test a particular functionality in all possible combination ways, all possible combination ways, when you have generate the data in that possible combination ways, and then use that instances directly run so quickly, you can uh, create this many. So if you have 100 instances generated for one particular test case, and 100 test case now creating is what, just 1 second activity, hardly 1 to 10 seconds activity. So it generates 100 test cases, and then 100 test cases, whatever whichever test case you want to execute, specific one you can execute, or all 100 test cases at once you can run. And then the testing would take place with those values whatever is been informed, uh, based on that values. So the other thing, or the current latest update or latest version, latest major one regarding this data is, and even I am using in my current project is the test TDS, test data service. So data to my test case we are managing from the server, that Tosca server, with TDS. And even this one, what it does is, if it is just hardly 1 or 10 test sheets, very rare it is going to impact your workspace. But if there are hundreds and thousands of test sheets that is created, so to maintain that part and to work on it, also sometimes it gets difficult to maintain that test case design, test sheets and the templates, and then any value. Sometimes what happens is when you click on here, when I click on this part, it is opening quickly now because there are not many things in my workspace. But if there are a lot of things, then the workspace gets slowed down, because even if I click on this to appear this sort of data, it takes sometimes 5-10 seconds or a minute as well, based on how much data the Tosca is storing. So this data, test sheets and the test cases, all these things, Tosca is storing in the tool itself, right, in the workspace local thing. So to show that details, or to work with that part, Tosca needs some time to manage that data. And if you have huge data, it is a general term, not only Tosca, but any application, any specific thing. If you have uh, thousands and lakhs of data in an application, so if you load a page with that many records, that many data, the page would take to load what, 1-2 minutes, depending on what data is. Let's say for the same application, if you just have hundreds or thousand records, and when we refresh or go to a specific application, a page, it generate the page comes in what, response in back 2 or 3 seconds. So this happens, right?
Yeah, and these two are the disadvantages of this test case design.
Correct. That is what I was just trying to explain. So having all this, but again, that completely depends on the requirement. And since if you being a fresher and got to one of the project, so whatever the lead or the manager or the test architect is, so it is on him what he uses. So we can let them know the disadvantages of having this one. So, or if they ask us suggestions or opinions, what should we use for our data management? Uh, if they ask us, so we can explain, yes, we can use test case design, but on a long run, when it is huge data, this is going to cause us an issue. So instead of this, even maintaining an Excel. So if you say Excel thing, Excel, yes, it would be in our local, and then someone, if they have to access that data, they also have to have that those Excels in a common place again, and having placing it in common place and updating things might get difficult. So instead of that, what I would suggest is we have something called test data service, TDS, Tosca server. From there, we can maintain all this data onto the server, and then server address, yes, everyone can access, and we can read and write data to that server in that particular place. And then to our test cases, we will read the data from that server and write it to that server itself. And just like how I do it, similarly other person, whoever needs some data or want to write or want to read the data what I had generated from few of the test cases, he can just he or she can just access that server address in their test case and use that value for their test case, for their testing. So that is the advantage of test data service. So am I clear on today's
Yeah.
topics, today's things? Any
Yeah,
doubts,
brother.
Aruna? Anything?
No, for now.
If you don't have, then we are good to close today's session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.